Welcome to History Decoded, where history, mystery, and philosophy become one journey. Close your eyes, listen closely, and let the great questions of the past find you. If this speaks to you, hit like and subscribe. The journey begins now. What if I told you that Moses never believed in hell? That Abraham never feared eternal fire? That King David, the man who wrote the Psalms, had no concept of a place where sinners burn forever? Not because they were unusually optimistic, but because hell, as you know it, hadn't been invented yet. By the end of this video, you'll see the exact moment in history when hell entered the Bible. You'll see who brought it there. And you'll learn about a real valley outside Jerusalem, a place with a dark, terrible history that was quietly transformed into the most feared word in Western civilization. Keep that valley in mind. We'll come back to it. Let's begin where every honest investigation begins, with the evidence. Open the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, and search for hell. Search the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, the foundation of everything. You will not find it. What you will find 65 times is a word: Sheol. Sheol was not hell, it was not heaven. It was the grave, the pit. A shadowy, silent underworld beneath the earth where all the dead went. And I mean all of them. The righteous, the wicked, kings and slaves, prophets and murderers. Everyone descended to the same place. Don't take my word for it. In Genesis chapter 37, verse 35, the patriarch Jacob, one of the most righteous men in the entire Bible, believes his son Joseph is dead. And what does he say? I will go down to Sheol to my son, mourning. Jacob, a man beloved by God, expecting to go to the same underworld as everyone else. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 goes even further. Listen to this. The dead know nothing. They have no more reward. There is no work or thought or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol to which you are going. No torment, no flames, no demons with pitchforks, just silence. And here's the detail that stops most people cold. Psalm 6, verse 5. King David, pleading with God to save his life, makes this argument. In death, there is no remembrance of you. In Sheol, who will give you praise? Think about what David is saying. Even the faithful dead cannot worship God, because in Sheol, nothing happens. But wait, if the wicked weren't punished after death, how did ancient Israel understand divine justice? The answer is right there in Deuteronomy chapter 28. God lays out every consequence for breaking the covenant: drought, disease, famine, military defeat, exile. Every single punishment is earthly, happening here, in this life, to you or to your descendants. Not one word, not one, about punishment after death. So the question becomes unavoidable. If hell isn't in the Torah, if it isn't in the Psalms, if it isn't in the prophets, where did it come from? To answer that, we need a date: 586 BCE. In that year, the armies of Nebuchadnezzar II, king of Babylon, broke through the walls of Jerusalem. They burned the Temple of Solomon to the ground, the house of God, the physical center of the Jewish faith, reduced to ash and rubble. And the elite of Judah, the priests, the scribes, the royal family, were marched in chains across the desert into exile in Babylon. Now, imagine the theological crisis. These were people who believed God rewarded the righteous and punished the wicked here in this life. But they had just watched the wicked win. They watched Babylonian soldiers loot God's temple and go home rich and victorious. They watched faithful men die in the streets. The old answer, justice in this life, was collapsing under the weight of reality. The exile created a wound, and into that wound came Persia. In 539 BCE, Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon. The Jewish exiles were permitted to return home. But here's what most people miss. Judah didn't become independent. It became a province of the Persian Empire and stayed that way for the next 200 years. 2 centuries of daily contact with Persian administration, Persian culture, and the Persian religion, Zoroastrianism. And Zoroastrianism taught things no one in Israel had ever written down before. A cosmic war between a god of light, Ahura Mazda, and a spirit of darkness, Angra Mainyu, a judgment after death where every soul crossed the Chinvat Bridge, the righteous passing into paradise, the wicked falling into a realm of torment below, a final fiery purification of the world, and a resurrection of the dead at the end of time. Sound familiar? Now, let me be honest with you, because this channel deals in evidence, not sensationalism. Scholars still debate exactly how much Jewish thought borrowed from Persia and how much developed independently from Israel's own internal crisis. But what nobody debates is the timeline before the exile. No resurrection, no post-mortem judgment, no cosmic devil, no fiery punishment. After 2 centuries under Persia, all of it appears. You can actually watch the change happen inside the Bible itself. Here's my favorite example. 2 Samuel, chapter 24, written before the exile, says God incited David to take a census of Israel. Centuries later, after the exile, the book of Chronicles retells the exact same story, same king, same census. But in 1 Chronicles 21, verse 1, it's no longer God who incites David. It's Satan, a cosmic adversary, a figure that barely existed in earlier texts, has entered the story. The theology is being rewritten in real time. And then comes the book of Daniel, written, most scholars agree, in the 2nd century BCE. Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 says this, "Many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt." There it is, the first and essentially the only clear reference to resurrection and eternal punishment in the entire Hebrew Bible, written 4 centuries after the exile began. Not in the days of Moses, not in the days of David, at the very end of the Old Testament period. Between the Testaments, the idea exploded. Jewish apocalyptic writings like the Book of Enoch, a text never included in your Bible but quoted by early Christians, described fallen angels chained in a fiery prison awaiting judgment. The shadowy silence of Sheol was being replaced by flames, which brings us back to that valley, the one I told you to remember. Southwest of the old city of Jerusalem, there is a real place you can walk through today, the Valley of Hinnom, in Hebrew, Gehenna, and its history is genuinely dark. 2 Kings 23 and Jeremiah chapter 7 record that in this valley, apostate kings of Judah burned their own children as sacrifices to the god Moloch. Jeremiah declared a place cursed, a valley of slaughter. For Jews after the exile, Gehenna became the ultimate symbol of horror, fire, and divine judgment. A real place, slowly becoming a metaphor. So when Jesus of Nazareth, a first-century Jew, warned his listeners about Gehenna, he was invoking that valley, a word loaded with history his audience knew intimately. But then came the translators. The Hebrew Bible had Sheol, the silent grave. The Greek New Testament used Hades, borrowed from Greek mythology. It used Gehenna, the valley, and once in 2 Peter, even Tartarus, the deepest pit of Greek legend. 4 different words, 4 different concepts, from 3 different cultures. And in 1611, the King James Bible translated nearly all of them with one single English word, hell. 4 ideas flattened into one, a doctrine manufactured in part by translation. So where does that leave us? Let me be clear about what this video is not saying. It's not an attack on anyone's faith. Millions of thoughtful believers know this history and hold their faith with open eyes. What this is an invitation. Because here's the thing about hell, it has a birth date, it has a geography, it has a paper trail, from the silence of Sheol, through the fires of Babylon, across the bridges of Persia, into a cursed valley outside Jerusalem, and finally onto the pages of an English Bible in 1611. And if something that feels that eternal turns out to have a history, you have to ask yourself, what else do we believe that has a history we've never examined? If you want to keep investigating, the comments are open. Tell me what you were taught about the afterlife and where you think it came from. Subscribe if you want more of history's forgotten fingerprints, because the past is full of doors like this one. The story ends here, but the questions remain. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might reveal what history left unsaid. If this journey moved you, hit like, share it with someone who loves a good mystery, and subscribe so the past can find you again. Until next time, keep questioning.